Welcome to Dear Romance Writer, where three writers who always deliver happily ever afters offer questionable advice for all of your relationship, work, and life problems. I'm Roan Parrish.
I'm Avery Flynn.
And I'm Zio Axelrod. We've got another great show for you today with the amazing Cat Sebastian. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Cat. We were so happy to have you here.
Sure. I write queer historical romance. I think that I have written 16 of them so far.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, like I had piled them all.
Your books can drive.
That's right. That's right. I had piled them all up to take a picture because my website is like in a really sad state. So I was like, I know what I'll do. Like I've seen like nice websites that have a picture of like all the authors' books on it. I was like, I can do that. Like, sure. Like, no, I cannot do that. Okay. But anyway, I tried and I got all my books together and I took a really ugly picture. You know, I was like, wow, though, that is a lot of books. It's ugly, right? But it's a lot of books.
You don't realize what a skill that is until you try and do it yourself, like for giveaways and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my God, you will never mistake me for like a bookstagrammer ever in a million trillion years. I feel ya. Do you happen to have your latest book? What's your latest book?
My latest book is The Missing Page. It is the second in a series of like Agatha Christie-esque, but gay and romantic stories taking place at the late 40s in like murder villages in England. And it's about us.
I like that. Murder villages. You need to get Murder Village merch. I would buy that.
I probably should. The Gay Murder Village is like, that actually would work really well. But like, you know, it's a semi-retired spy and a country doctor who, you know, solve crimes and there are no cops. Like that's the whole premise. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Well,
cool.
Welcome to the show. We are so excited to have you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I'm a big fan. I'm trying not to fangirl, but yeah.
I'm not trying not to.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I'm not trying. We are all fans. Goodness. Oh man.
Well, okay. So as you can tell, if you see behind me, if you're watching on YouTube, I am home from New York, which is very exciting. Yay! And the only thing not good about being home from New York is that the world is a fucking abattoir. But it was when I was in New York too, so that's fine. Anyway, it's been a fucking week. What even is going on? Yeah, what's up with all of you? It can be a small, tiny, happy thing to make me not want to die, or it can be
I have a happy thing that will make you want to die. I have
Go for it, Avery.
That will not make you want to die, and I am normally not the Pollyanna of the group, so I'm super stoked about it. Okay,
wait,
so
I'm the Pollyanna of the group.
Who is the Pollyanna of the group?
I don't think
whoever our guest is, right?
We're like bitter bitches, LLC. Okay. My
Cat's
grandmother.
Like slinking away.
This is actually going to air next week, so I will be home by then. But I am leaving tomorrow. My grandmother is turning 100.
Yes.
And I am so excited to go out. She's having a birthday party. Everybody's coming down. I went and got boosted, even though I've already had COVID and 8 million other shots, I swear to God. But I didn't want to go without getting boosted. So I went, so go get boosted, go get your vaccine shots, please. Don't kill my grandmother. Anyway, so so she is turning 100. And this woman has had one of the most amazing lives I've ever, like, she is like one of those old Midwesterners that didn't stop mowing her own lawn until she was 85. Like with a push mower, not an electric one, like
wow,
real stuff.
That's badass.
She like grew up in this teeny tiny little town in Kansas. She went to Washington, D.C. to work with the USO and in the war effort.
Wow.
Maybe not the USO, but definitely the war effort. She met my grandfather out here. They got married in like North Carolina at a base in North Carolina. His best friend was her maid of honor because, you know, it was just a world of men at that point in time. And so he went over, he died in World War II, so that's sad. But she came home, she had my dad, so she got pregnant before he left, had my dad. She ended up staying in that small town in Kansas. She was like the county treasurer for like 1,000,000 years there. And when I was little, we used to go to the courthouse, and she would let us play in the giant walk-in, like think of the old style safes that they had like in banks. Cool. They had one of those. And it was so cool to get to like go in there. And it smelled very weird. But yeah, and so she is turning 100. She has, I don't even know how many great grandchildren. I think there are, oh good Lord. There are at least 10 of us grandkids, probably closer to 15. A bunch of great grandkids, all of that stuff. And she is still with it and on it and competitive and would kick your ass and Farkle in a heartbeat. So you know what? If we get to be 100, may we be like grandma. So there's your happy thing.
She sounds awesome.
Yeah. Very awesome.
Happy birthday, Grandma.
Yes, happy birthday.
That's so cool. Anybody doing anything for Cupid Day, Valentine's Day, whatever you want to call it? Commercial love holiday? Nah.
Yeah, you like the dead air there. That was just like, yeah, no.
Well, when does this episode air? This episode airs on my birthday.
Happy birthday!
This episode airs on my birthday, which will also be a non-eventful day as it was last year or the year before that. But no, we don't really, even, when Valentine's Day was out in the world, I think we used to go pick like a restaurant we'd want to check out, and we'd do that on Valentine's Day. And then I realized that like they give you like 90 minutes to enjoy the space before they start like rushing you out. So I was like, well, that's not enjoyable. So we stopped doing that. We started ordering in, but we would get like something that we wouldn't, like a fancy meal, quote unquote fancy meal. But I just asked Mr. X what he wanted to do, and he's like, pizza. I'm like, okay, so I guess we're doing pizza. But yeah,
good pizza is worth it.
Yeah, maybe we'll make one. I don't know, but yeah, we don't really do much for that either.
Make a
I know it's a big deal. We could do a heart-shaped pizza.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And if you do like to go out, I highly recommend the day after Valentine's Day. Because just like the candy goes on sale, like nobody goes out to eat. So I highly recommend it.
And it's on a Monday this year, so it should be weird. Even if people do go out, it'll be like a weird time. But yeah.
But you, Kat, do you guys do anything fun?
No, I am. We pretend that my dog's birthday is on Valentine's Day. So
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And my old dog, who isn't alive anymore, his birthday was my birthday. We pretended, so that way we didn't have to do anything I don't enjoy most holidays, so if we can just celebrate a dog instead of the holiday, like that works for me. So the dog will get a cake, and that's what we'll do.
Nice.
No one is psyched about this except me. Like I'm the only one.
I think that's worthwhile though. If it's a dog lover, yes. Yay. Yeah. What is the name of your dog and what kind is it?
His name is Puppers, because he was like, a friend of mine had found him chained up like in the winter and just like stole him like you do and brought him to me. And so this is years ago. And so I was like, okay, yeah, we're fostering this dog for sure. Right. We're fostering the dog. And like,
that always works out.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, Pupper, because I couldn't call him hey dog because my other dog responded to dog, so he was Pupper. And then he just like, he started sleeping with my oldest kid. So it was like, like he's your dog now. And and so we do not know what kind of dog he is, other than he has to be some kind of hound. And he's like Southern USA street dog. Like when you see one, like you've seen them all, they all have the same like raggedy short-haired look, like
pointy ears or floppy ears.
Oh,
there's two varieties.
It's okay. He has pointy ears that are too big for his like little empty head, so they just flop over to the side.
I guess. We like puppers.
His head is like this way.
Oh.
He sounds adorable.
How
That's
about
cool.
you, Roan? Are you guys doing anything for Valentine's Day, or are you just glad to be home?
I'm just glad to be home. So last year was my girlfriend's first Valentine's Day together. I had never before in my entire life celebrated Valentine's Day. She had, but like didn't care about it much. Neither of us care, basically. But since we hang out all the time, and since she's a Taurus who really enjoys pampering, and I really like doing things that she likes. I was like, sure, we can do whatever for Valentine's Day. It's just like any other day. Why wouldn't I want to celebrate our love literally every single day? And so I've been told that we're hanging out, but I don't know what we're doing, but we hang out every day. So, it'll just be like extra hanging out. Also, I'm going to make her some sort of concoction that I'm sure I will
tell
live
us
on my stories. Yeah, and I told her she can't look at my social media because I want to be able to do it live, because that makes it more fun for me and easier for me to finish projects. Because sometimes when I try to just do things by myself, halfway through, I'm like, well, I'm not into this anymore. And I have no accountability measure. So why wouldn't I just stop? I'm an adult. I can do whatever I want. But if I start posting out on social media, then if I stop, people are like, what happened?
What happened?
Nothing. Here, I'll finish it. So anyway, what I'm doing on Valentine's Day is baking something and being a poster about it. I don't know.
I like that though. Your baking is very good from what I hear from Zio, because you love
it's
her.
delicious.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because Mr. X was like, I want to bake a cake for your birthday. And I almost started crying because he doesn't like birthday cake, and nobody's ever, Rowan's the only person who's ever baked me a birthday cake. So
and I was going to do it again
like,
this year until you told me you were going to do it.
I mean, I'm not going to turn down a cake from you. I'm just saying. But he was like, what was that ginger chocolate thing that you had? I was like, that was the cake that Rowan made for me. And I was like, oh. He was like, okay, what else do you want? So he's baking a cake, and like I've been gathering all the supplies and stuff. So I'm tempted to like document it a la Rowan style on social media, like surreptitiously, like take some video and some photos while he's doing it. Yeah, because it's an ambitious one. It's an Italian rum cake with like this custard thing.
Oh, that is my mother-in-law's favorite cake. Yeah. And she's the only one in the family that likes it, so she rarely gets it. So yes, I hope you love it. And then if you do, I know an Italian lady in New Jersey who would go to town with you on this cake.
It's an ambitious first cake to make.
Yeah, it really is.
But that's him. So
but what people have to understand is that Zio's husband completely redid their unfinished basement or half-finished basement by himself during the pandemic, and it looks amazing. I was standing down there and I was like, I need you to tell me exactly how you did this so that I can do it to my basement. So and
then he started baking bread too. He's like,
now he likes to figure things out, and then once he needs them to be perfect. So like, that every project is like, he's a perfectionist. So this cake should be amazing.
I knew I sensed something disturbingly familiar the first time I met him.
Well, while all of this has now once again made me hungry every freaking episode, and now I want cake really bad.
Me too.
And I'm not a baker, so I'll go grab one of the boxes that are in my pantry and some funfetti, and there you go. That's what's gonna happen tonight. But we got to get moving to our letter here, which is something that has probably a situation that many of us in the creative communities are used to. So I snagged this off of Am I the Asshole? Well, actually Zio did, and I just simply said, I like this one, I'm gonna pick this. So there you go, control freak. So let's get to the questionable advice giving portion of our program. So here's the letter. It says, so I have a degree in fashion, which some people think means I can be their personal seamstress. I'm used to this problem and don't mind helping people out, but I never work for free. My pregnant friend, which is, sorry, as an aside, that is such an important rule to make for yourself. My pregnant friend recently reached out to me and asked me if I could make her a wedding dress. She sent me pictures of the idea she had in mind. It isn't exactly a simple dress, but also not the most complex I've ever done either. I told her I could for sure do it, and it cost 600 pounds. I have no idea what that is in American dollars.
It's about $900, I think. Something like that right now.
So still for a wedding dress, that's a steal, which is scary. I bought
especially a custom one.
Yeah, exactly. She was shocked at this and told me she thought I'd do it for free, and she'd just pay for my materials. I pointed out how many hours this would take me to do and all the hand embroidery needed. And then I explained I was doing this for a quarter of the price I'd charge other people because she's my friend. At this point, she started to get very upset, telling me I have no idea how much stress she's under with the wedding and the fact that she's pregnant and how money is tight and how this should be my wedding gift to her and how great it would look in my portfolio. Getting paid in exposure sucks. Okay, back to the letter. I don't think I'm being unreasonable to want some money for this, but other friends are telling me it's horrible how I'm wanting to charge her for this. And it's not like I'm a high-end bridal shop. Thank you, backhanded bitchiness. Am I being unreasonable? So my little editorial notes aside, is she being unreasonable, folks?
No.
No. Well, she's being unreasonable and only charging her 600 pounds, to be honest. But no. Yeah, no.
What is wrong with this friend? This is so outrageous. I can tell from everyone's faces that we agree that this is outrageous, but I'm trying to imagine a moment when I would want one of my friends to do a lot of work and not get paid. And I cannot imagine a single scenario in which I would be like, oh, my friend who I think is talented enough that I want them to make my wedding dress, that friend, it'd be great if she just had no money. I would love for her to not have enough money. Who thinks this? That's what you're saying. If you that's outrageous. If you
and not just her, all of their friends, or not all, but
all her friends. Yeah. I have such strong feelings about this whole topic, as I know we all do, but here is my put it on a t-shirt. It is what I would say to every single person in the entire world. If you can't afford to pay people for the work they do on your wedding, you shouldn't get married. You shouldn't have a wedding, get married, whatever. But if you can't afford to tip, you shouldn't go out to eat. If you can't afford to pay for the stuff that you want, you don't get the stuff.
Yeah.
This is not complicated. If you can't afford to pay for a wedding dress, then you don't get one unless you can figure out, you have to figure out another way, trade something, pay, make this person dinner for a month. You don't have to pay in cash money, but if you cannot figure out a way to trade or pay for goods and services, I do not know why you think that you are entitled to them.
Yeah.
Well, and I think there's also, beyond the exposure thing, which I do want us to talk about because I think that's a huge thing that affects creatives. But is that whole basic thing of not telling people what their gift to you is going to be? The basic manners part of it kind of blows me away a little bit. And when we got married, I was still working for newspaper at the time. And one of the photographers said, I would like our gift to you. I'll take your pictures. You pay for the film. You pay to get it developed. He's like, but I'll do that part of it. And it was incredibly kind and super generous. And we, would definitely not have been able to have as great of photographs without that. But again, that wasn't something we approached him. That was something we,
right.
And the food editor's I like making wedding cakes. I'll make your wedding cake. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. Wow. So, and again, there's a difference between, it's like when people send out the wedding invitations and they also include, it's not just the, the registry list, which can get a little extreme, but at least that is giving you ideas. It's not requiring you to do something on there. But now people will send out invitations and sometimes it's a straight up cash thing. saying your gift is not your presents, it's the $50 to $100 that you're contributing or more to our honeymoon fund. Thank you. Love you. Love this journey for me. You know, just like, so there is like a weird, like, I don't understand the lack of home training, I guess is what I'm trying to get to on folks in basic manners on things that you should do. And I would really just beg everybody out there, please, don't tell people what gift to get you. And it's not
Don't take
unless
your
they
friends
ask.
for granted.
And
Don't take advantage of your friends who work in anything. Like, I mean, if the approach had been, hey, you know, money's really tight and we I want to get this dress, and you know, can I barter with you? Can I, you know, how could we do this? This is the money I have or whatever. But to tell someone, I want you to make my dress. Oh, great. I'll make your dress. Cool. I'm not going to pay you. You know what I mean? Like, it's just such a, like, I don't know. I don't understand how you reach that.
Who expects that their wedding dress to be free? Like, that's not even a thing. Like, that's
no.
Like, if you're going like the regular, like traditional wedding route, like you're expecting to drop thousands of dollars on this dress. Like, this is not something like you can't. Okay, so anyone who has like makes like quilts or sweaters or whatever is familiar with the whole thing where you go to Target and a sweater is $30 or a quilt is like $40. And so people think that's what it's worth. And so when someone says, hey, can you knit me this? They're shocked when you're like, well, that's going to be like $500 because that's going to be my whole life, you know, for a month. Right. A wedding dress is not that, you know, a wedding dress is something where like you go in expecting it to be a fortune, not $0. It's not going to be $0.00.
Right.
This is somebody who's starting out from a place of like total unreason, and then getting to what Avery said, like I was like, okay, so I know I was raised old fashioned, but like I was always taught that like you're supposed to act like any present you get, even when it's like your birthday party and you're 6 years old, you're supposed to be like treat it like a wonderful surprise. Like you could never have possibly anticipated this, you know, like the whole idea of like assigning
a surprise. And if they were like something you hated, you still said thank you. You didn't say, ew, I don't like that, right?
Yeah.
Of course. Like even if like you cry afterwards, you know, but like it's wild to assign present duties to people. Like this is like we're not putting on a potluck here where I can say like you're in charge of the dips, you know, like this is a wedding. This is thousands of dollars. Like if you can't go the fancy traditional wedding route, don't do it, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there are plenty of dresses hanging on a rack somewhere from last season. If you're really strapped for cash, like
there are options.
Thrift stores, you know, like
there are plenty of maternity dresses, maternity wedding dresses too. Like this is not even that unusual a situation here, you know.
Well, sounds like she's in the UK too, and right, and it sounds like she's in the UK, and ASOS, which I know is in the UK, has the line of maternity wedding dresses, and they are not expensive. So there you go. Let her. Tell them to go there.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the thing that at this point I'm like parodying myself by the number of times that I've said this on this podcast, but like if you want to have a wedding, great, have a wedding. That's wonderful for you. But that doesn't give you the right to expect that all your friends and family are going to shell out their money and their time to make this happen for you. Like some people are going to be generous. There are some people who are going to care about this because they also care about weddings. There are some people who are going to care because they want you to be happy. But assuming from the get-go that your entire family and community is invested in putting on this party for you to their own detriment is the most obnoxious, entitled, and frankly, like inconsiderate thing I can imagine. Like I've known tons of people who got married and we all pulled together and we're like, yeah, you're having your wedding at the botanical gardens, like on a picnic blanket. Of course, I will be the one to go like pick flowers from a bunch of people's community gardens and bring them here. Like that will take 1 hour of my time and I love you. Or yeah, go through all my clothes and see if there's anything that you can turn into something. Like there are reasonable expectations of output that you have for friends reciprocally. But I just find like, I feel like people think that weddings are some kind of hallowed exception to all societal rules of politeness and equity. And people think that because, of course, our society like says that they're like romantic and it's the most important day of your life and blah, 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 blah. And some people buy into this and some people believe it. And for some people, they're like, it really matters to me for lots of reasons. And I'm not saying that it doesn't matter or that you suck for caring. I'm saying that your happiness is your own responsibility. And so if you've decided that this is the most important day of your life, and the step 2 in your logic is because I think it's the most important day of my life, all of you have to make it your priority. Like you've gone off the rails. Your second thought was the thought that went off the rails. And that means that your 3rd through 3,000th thoughts will all also be off the rails. And so I feel like this is a moment where I beg anyone who has a friend who deeply, deeply cares about their upcoming wedding to like catch them at the thought number 2, if that thought is to make other people responsible, because it's like literally nobody's business about your wedding, and not a person in the world cares as much about it as you and your partner do. So the expectation that anyone is going to like inconvenience themselves to make you happy is just like disgusting.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of pressure in some families for everyone to acquiesce to whatever the bride wants. You know what I mean? Like I've seen it where like the bride will choose the dresses for the party or like the venue or whatever it is, and it's like way out of everyone's budget,
price range,
but you're expected you're expected to do it anyway because that's the expectation of either being in the wedding or being involved or whatever. The thing that really bugs me here is it's not just the bride, it's their circle of friends who are like pressuring this person to like give in. So like all of those people need to go because they don't care about her at all.
And not
and the
just
reason why I chose
she's awful, like that she's a bad person or something.
Yeah, it's the whole like guilt trip thing. Like you should do this. Like it's not like you're a high-end bridal shop. The reason why I chose this letter was because of that line.
made me so angry.
Because as an indie musician, I cannot tell you how many times people have asked me to play at either a wedding or a function or play at a club for free for the quote unquote exposure. Or it's not like you're signed to a label. That whole thing, like it's not like you are worthy, you're not famous enough, you're not whatever enough to earn money doing what you love and spend your passion and your energy doing. Like you're not worthy of my money to pay you to do. Oh my gosh. So like when I saw that line, I was like, oh, cut and paste, because it happens so much. And you see it even in publishing. Like people want you to edit their books for free. They want you to do their book cover for free. They want you to format their book for free. Now you can offer and say, hey, I have vellum, I'll format your book. But to have someone come to you and say, I need you to do this right now and I need it in 2 days or whatever, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people who take advantage of your skill set in publishing and in music as well. But in publishing, I've seen it a lot. And I'm like, this letter just, I was raging for like 2 days after I read this.
Well, and I saw this and it hit me because like they're just like MTV came out with this like movie call specifically for diverse voices. And it's a contest for like the winner gets like 10 grand. Like it's nowhere near scale as I understand it. I mean, that seems like a really big amount of money, but I guess in the world of film scripts, that is nowhere near what they should be getting. So that's scary enough. But then just by entering the contest, you were giving up your right to the script, whether you won or not. Mm-hmm. And all of it was for exposure. And, you know, I think creatives get hit with this a lot. Like, we as authors will get asked to donate things, or which a lot of times we're willing to do if it's a charity that we support, or, you know, something along that, or participate in a group project, which group projects when you're grown up are no more fun a lot of times than group projects when you're in high school, just so you know. But with saying, well, it's exposure. And as a writer, specifically, you have to weigh those things and try and figure out, is the possibility of exposure, eyeballs, is that worth it for this, right? For the amount of work that you're going to have to put in on it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it may be. I think most of the times it is not.
Yeah.
But that's something that each person has to weigh on themselves. But there's also like, I've my sister will do like multimedia art stuff. It's really cool, very edgy, and looks angsty to me, but hi, I'm the girl in pink. So but you know, like she'll get calls, people wanting just basically to donate it. Well, yeah, but if you put it up in a restaurant for free, then people will see it. And you're like, that does nothing. Or you go to art shows and it's like Kat was saying about with the quilts, you know, oh, well, I can get a print off of Amazon for $25. So of course that's all it is, not realizing the amount of time that people put into it. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that to me, a huge red flag in being a creative of any type, or even if you're an accountant and somebody's wanting you to do their taxes, right? If somebody is asking you to do work of which you have expertise in, and they're asking you to do it for free with the idea of exposure, or I'm going to tell people about your car wash business or whatever it may be very wary. Whether it's just apart from the whole friendship nuttiness of this, if somebody is coming to you and acting as if that is, you know,
they're doing you a favor.
Departed, and they're doing you a favor.
They're doing you a favor.
It's a huge red flag.
There was a huge scandal last week or week before last when it broke that the dancers at the Super Bowl halftime show don't get paid.
What? I missed all of that.
Yeah, apparently they don't get paid. Well, they do now, but yeah.
So they get
which is mind-blowing.
Like 20 minutes or something. They get paid for like the time they're literally on the television, but not for the like
none of the practice, none of the
of rehearsals or anything, which is like
which is common, unfortunately.
It is
in that world.
But that's like when you these are people who like are talked about. You know, like these
I don't even know how you can call it exposure because you can't see those people. They're like this big on the television. Like you can't. It's like their names are scrolling across the screen while they're up there.
Well, maybe it's like being able to put it on your resume and going for another.
I was one of 1,000 dancers at the Super Bowl. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like the our current culture of virality, you know, like things going viral, has actually really fucked up this discourse too, because every one of us has seen someone go viral. And it's for something unexpected, something that you would never think. And usually then there's this idea of like, well, if this person could go viral for something and I'm getting the chance for exposure, then that could happen to me. And it's so easy to go viral. Like just, you don't have any control over it. It's just easy. So I feel like that what do you call it? Like that cocktail of, it's totally random. So anything you do could be the thing that contributes to it, but you can never have a sense of like direct causation. So you can't attribute it like necessarily to one thing. That makes it seem like any offer of exposure could be the thing that breaks.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's what gets you.
Yeah. And that's
my God.
That's what they're counting on.
I listened to you guys and I'm thinking of me as a baby writer, and I probably heard all of this advice and said, yeah, but I need it.
Yeah.
Well, I need it though. It could be my chance. It could be the one thing.
Right.
And
it's
like you were talking about,
right? Like it is the logic that happens to make people like addicted to gambling, is that if over and over one thing might be the thing that gets you a bunch of money, but you cannot attribute the moments of your success to which things were the things that did it, then it's like, you know, the way rats get trained to press a food lever or this thing. And like, we get trained to think more and more and more that there's some sort of like magical economy to what goes viral, to what gets you exposure. People post success stories where they're like, I was just sitting in a cafe and I said something and the person turned around and was like, sorry to be overhearing or eavesdropping, but I am a publisher from New York, you know, and then of course those things happen and they get a ton of attention because precisely of that combination of like randomness and inattributability. And I think that like that has put us in this mindset that we want to allow all things. It's like this say yes to everything mindset, because you never know which is going to be the thing that catapults you. And we all want that, of course. Like we want success in the thing that we do. And it gives all the power to the people who have the megaphone, the power to amplify a voice, because all they have to do is say, like, we might amplify your voice. And you're like, well, I've wanted my voice to be amplified, so that sounds good. But like, it's just all such a complete and utter farce. And I think that one of my favorite things is when I see people's tweets go viral, for example, is to go look at that account. And like, usually that person has 157 followers. And then after their tweet goes viral, they have like 187 followers. And it's easy to look at that and be like, oh my God, I got 30 followers in one day from a viral tweet. And it's also like, cool, that's utterly valueless. And it's not going to happen again, and you're not going to get any more. So there was no point. Like, it's a total black hole.
Also, you get like death threats. You're getting death threats.
Right.
Okay. If you have a website or anything, it's getting hacked. Okay. Like it's like every single time I have a tweet do numbers, it's like you can see there's like the whole cycle. You know what I mean? And I was telling my daughter the other day, like, the trick really is to shut it down right before the death threats. And she was like, what? Like how is that a thing? Like that everyone agrees on, like there's having like notoriety doesn't give you $1 and it like may kill you. Like this is like
right.
Not so good.
No,
yeah. Just make you a little paranoid.
Well, I think they kind of hang on to, I think it's easy in a lot of different areas to hang on to, well, this author appeared in an anthology with this group and it hit the list. And so now they've got this, right? Or his tweet went viral and now his YouTube page gets paid ads on there and he makes $10,000 a month from the little ads that come up, right? It's that hope. We get stuck in that hope. So I would ask you guys, since we've completely gone off of the wedding dress, which we all agreed her friend's a shitbag, maybe just in nicer words. But
no.
when it comes to someone who is trying to make that educated decision about whether or not the possibility of exposure is worth the amount of work, what like 2 or 3 things would you have them consider and think about? Because it happens in writing, it happens in photography, singing, crafting, all of those things. What would you advise folks to think about?
For me, it's always about, am I exposing myself to a new group of people? Am I exposing myself to a new group of readers? If I'm playing a show somewhere, am I exposing myself to a new group of listeners or showgoers or whatever? If I'm reaching the same people that I can already reach without doing this thing, then there's no point in me doing it. Because I think about like, I love doing book events, and readers may not understand how expensive it is to do these book events, not just like the travel, but like the swag and getting your books there and buying those books ahead of time if you're not trad and all this other stuff. Like it's really expensive. So it's like, if I'm going to spend X amount of dollars to travel halfway across the country, I'm not going to make that money back, obviously, there. I may not make it back even when I get home on like, book sales online. So what is the point of my going there other than like enjoying myself and seeing readers and authors? Am I going there to expose myself to a new group of readers? And are those group of readers going to be interested in what I'm writing? So that's like my main criteria for stuff like that. So that's what I tell people when they ask.
That makes sense. How about you guys?
I'm with Zio on that. I think, it is so embarrassing when you tell other people that as authors, you have to pay to go to these things. I don't mean embarrassing because there's something wrong with it. I mean embarrassing because people look at you and they're like, wait, sorry, are you actually an author? Because everyone thinks like if you pay to go to an event for people to see you, that's a scam.
Pay to play, yeah.
I mean, everyone knows that is a scam in any other industry. And the fact that it's par for the course in ours is always like, every single time I tell someone that, I always brace for them being like, wait, what? But yeah, I think that for me, it's like it's pretty easy to tell these days. Anyone who has to ask me to do something for free doesn't have anything to offer me, basically. That's kind of how I think about it. Like, which doesn't mean don't do it. It means do it for other reasons if you want to do it, or don't do it. So like, I love doing like partnering with an author for a first book who has their first book come out, who's like, do you want to come do a giveaway in my Facebook group? Like, those are the things where I'm not doing it for exposure. I'm doing it because people were kind to me when I started out, and I want to be kind to people. I'm doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
The more new authors there are, the more like diverse stories we could potentially get. So it's I feel like it's really important for me to figure out why I would be doing the thing. And if someone has nothing to pay me, they probably have nothing to give me that I can't get myself in this little world. And that means either if I don't have time, I don't do it, or if I have time, I do it. And it's because I feel good doing things that are helpful.
Yeah.
But in terms of like MTV, for example, this thing that Avery brought up, like if it's a company that has money and they're not paying you, I feel like that's the easiest one in the world, because you can be like, you have the money, you're just choosing not to give it to me, which means you don't value me or my contribution. That also means you have nothing invested in getting my name out there. Like even if you're a huge company, you can tweet something, and even if you have like 2 million followers, that doesn't mean anyone's engaging with your shit. So yeah, so for me, that's a big, easy, absolutely not. And I think that one of the like best pieces of advice that I could give is, when you're really early in your career, it feels like you have nothing to lose when you go for those things. And usually you don't right away. So like, if you want to write a screenplay and there is actually the chance that it could get produced, if it actually got produced, that would be huge for you. But it probably won't, like, just statistically, I'm sure this is like a ton of talented people. And so you might think though, like, okay, but what do I lose? I get practice writing the screenplay, and then like, I don't have the power to do anything with it myself. So like, who cares if I lose my rights? And there is this brass ring that's like the maybe, right? And I think that's the logic that I definitely had when I was starting out. And I think a lot of other people also have. And I feel like now, having been in the business for some years, I'm like, actually, you stand to lose everything in those scenarios, because you set yourself up to believe that your time has no value. You send the message that your time has no value. Other people who are also starting out see that you are participating, and then they believe the more people are doing it, the better probably a deal it is or whatever. And then they start doing it and send the message to MTV, et cetera, that's an appropriate thing to do. And what if your like second screenplay that you write, or book that you write, or whatever, is a New York Times bestseller, is an international whatever, or even it's just like a mid-list thing. And then what people want is they want to go find your backlist, only you don't have rights to it because you thought it was valueless because you were a first-time author and you gave it away. What if then your second book does really well and they're like, well, we want to option your first book for a movie, and you're like, oh, sorry, you can, but not for me because I don't have the rights anymore. And then that gets made into a movie. Like, I think that if you want to have a career as a writer, it's really important to look at every single right in every single contract and never give anything away that you don't have to, because you never know if down the line that one is going to be something that you can do something with. Like, people sign contracts all the time where they were signing away like certain kinds of rights because it was a technology that didn't even exist. And now it does exist. Like, now there is Audible first streaming rights to blah, blah, blah. And like 5 years ago, of course you would sign that right away because it didn't exist and who cares. But like, you never know, like, technology is always moving, the business is always moving, the industry is always changing. And so giving away anything just because it doesn't have value to you at this particular moment in your career or in the industry is actually like potentially really screwing you over in the future, because it's not leaving you open and free to take advantage of all the work that you've done and all the ways you could do it. So that was so much longer an answer than I probably could have given, but basically, like, hold on to all of the rights you can and all of the work you can with like the last strength in your grubby little hands, and don't let anyone take them away from you, because you never know what are going to be the things that are your freedom down the line.
something you just said reminding me of that age old, I'm saying age old, I've only been in business for 8 years, but that argument about whether or not you should make your book 99 cents or free or perma-free or all that stuff. People talk about devaluing the books because your book is 99 cents. My first book, somebody told me that with my first book, like, oh, you're a new author, nobody's going to read your book, sell it for 99 cents. And so I put it up for 99 cents and it stayed at 99 cents for like a year. Because I was like, okay, well, I'm new, and and it, got the review in USA Today and was doing, the stuff, but it was still 99 cents. And I was like, and I looked back at that a couple of years later and I was like, wow, it was really stupid. That was really dumb advice to take. I mean, yeah, sure, do a release week or a promo or whatever like that, but like, don't devalue your work. Like Ron said,
Don't devalue your work. Yeah.
Yeah.
What advice would you give, Kat?
Yeah, I would say like at some point, if you are in a creative career, you have to figure out what an hour of your work is worth, like, and then that way you can just sort of do a quick on the fly calculation when someone asks you to do something, and like that's not the way my brain usually works, because usually I'm like, how long does it take me to write a book? Like, I have no fucking idea. Do you know what I mean? Like, I sit in front of the computer and like get increasingly anxious, and then a book comes out. Okay, but like when I really add it up, which like, again, like I've been doing this for like 6 years, I guess, right? Like at some point 2 years ago, I was like, okay, it's time. Okay, so I can get a book done in basically like a first draft is like 2 months of full-time work, and then editing it is maybe another month of full-time work, with the understanding that there's like other stuff happening in there, right? But like, okay, then you have to go and divide that into like what the number of actual hours that you work, and then what you're actually seeing reasonably like over the course of a year. Like, we're not going to count like long tail earnings, right? Like, and being able to say, oh, that's what my work is worth on an hourly basis is really useful, also because it keeps you very, very humble, like it's, and that way you can see whether you really want to do this thing that's going to take you 2 weeks of your life, or whether and it also puts some perspective into like, I used to read, if a debut author sent me an arc, my policy was to always read it. Okay, like no matter what, I'd read it. Or if somebody who I knew even vaguely sent me a manuscript, I would read it. Okay. And now I don't do that anymore. Like, I will try really, really hard, especially for debuts, to read an arc, or at least but like, I can't, like I can't, like, that's like 6 or 7 hours that's a work day, I really wish I had that kind of time. I can't do it. And that said, I don't want to like discourage anybody from sending me stuff, but like, I'm very comfortable at this point saying no. And that's the other thing, is you really have to develop a way. Everyone's always like, no is a complete sentence. Okay, for me, it's like 5 sentences, because I have to keep apologizing. But like, you have to come up with a way to say no that you can actually deliver. Like, I really wish I could. I wish I had more hours in the day. Can't do it this time. Wish you the best of luck. Ask me again in the future, or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's such a struggle, because I feel like of course, the further in your career you get, the busier you are, because the more pieces there are for each release, there's just a lot of stuff that goes into being an author that I think most readers, and also like folks who are starting out, don't quite know yet. And it makes me feel, or like for a while, it made me feel shitty to have to do that thing of being like, I'm so sorry, I'm just too busy. Because really, like, it's not always true that I'm too busy. The word like, we all choose what we spend our time on. So really what I'm saying is like, I would rather have the time to myself than read this book that you sent me, person that I don't know, even though I really value that you've written it. And like, that is the honest to God truth, is I am choosing having my freedom time-wise over doing this thing. And I think at first I was like, oh God, that sounds so like stuck up, or is that obnoxious? And now I'm like, why would I ever think it was a bad thing to say I'm prioritizing myself over a total stranger's book? Like, of course I'm more important to me than a stranger's book is. That's like, you have to be to live. You have to value yourself over every single other thing from somebody else. But I do think it like took me a while to get to the point where I can be like, would that there were more hours in the day, but my schedule is really, I'm pretty booked for a couple of months, but best of luck, and like tag me I'm happy to retweet you or something.
Right.
But I do feel like that is all out of like wanting to be a member of a community, not out of anything to do with exposure. And to me, it's such a more interesting way. Like, I think a community of authors helping each other has so much more power to make a book visible, for example, than an unpaid opportunity by a brand. And that's why it makes so much more sense to me. Like, I think if every author took the 3 seconds that it took to retweet a book, we could make it a New York Times bestseller easily. Like, just by doing that, it takes a ton of people. But like one brand tweeting one time about that book does not have the power to do that. And so the fact that we are still stuck in this narrative where we put more faith in a strange corporation that obviously we all know deep down does not give a shit if we live or die, than we do in building community so that we can uplift voices that we value is like nonsensical to me.
I was just thinking about this wedding dress scenario where, okay, so you say she said, okay, fine, I'll make your dress for free. And then they have this circle of friends that's going to be like, you know what, I'm getting married. I want you to make my dress as well. But why are you charging me more? You made her dress for free. Why are you charging? You know what I mean? So like, this is not, and that's the thing. Like if you say yes to something, like Rowan was saying, you say yes to everything and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this free thing. And then the next person's like, oh, I heard you did that thing for free. So come do it for free for me too. And then where do you draw the line? You know, you're opening yourself up to.
Well, to me, it's an oxygen mask moment, right?
Yes.
You put your oxygen mask on first, right? And I think I saw a phrase the other day that I kind of fell in love with, and that was toxic productivity. And I was like, oh my God, that's like every writer I know, because if we're not working, 28 out of every 24 hours, we feel incredibly guilty, right? Because we just sit on our ass and type all day, right? We just make shit up. Why? That's not hard, right? So, but I think toxic productivity has a home in the writing world, a very solid home. But so whether you are looking at a project for exposure and trying to weigh whether it's worth it, or if it's somebody coming to you and asking you to help them with an opportunity, I think you really do have to like take that moment to put your oxygen mask on first, figure out where you are in terms of time, energy, ability, patience, all of those things, let alone, so how full are you? How full is your tank on all of those things? And then also look at what is the cost of all of these things. Look at it in time, look at it in actual dollars and cents, look at it in, if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing with that? And would that be more, right after I say toxic productivity, but would that be more productive for you in your career and in there, right? And all things kind of being even, you have to find that balance, and only you could, it's like how to write a book. Only you can figure out the best process for you for writing a book. Only you can figure out that right balance for you between exposure opportunities, paid opportunities, helping to support the industry by sharing books that you love, or being able to say, all right, I'm going to give up this part of my day and I'm going to read this arc. Only you can figure out what that balance is. My piece of advice when it comes to all of these is to take the time to sit down and figure out what that balance is, right, for you, and to reevaluate it because it changes.
Yeah. And one thing I think is so important about that is, like, number one, you actually don't want that kind of exposure. Because like what Zio was saying, if you do the thing for free for one friend, the wedding dress for free, and then like you get exposure at that wedding and everyone's like, oh my God, who did your gown? And the bride is like, my friend so-and-so did it and it was her gift to me, then you've gotten exposure to a bunch of other fucking people who are going to want more free work from you, like Zia was saying. And actually now you're worse off than you were before, because now you have to negotiate this thing over and over and over again. So like, I feel like, yeah, step one is you don't want the kind of exposure that exposes you as someone who's willing to give away your work for free. And number two is that I think what's also hard to remember is that any time that you give to something that is for exposure or something that's not benefiting you in that way, it's not just that it's taking away the time for you to work on whatever project you're working on now. It's something that is taking away the time for you to like live a life that puts you in possession of the time to like think and dream all of the future ideas that you're going to do. So like one of the things that we don't talk about that much with writing, because it's so hard to talk about, or not hard, it's just like it's internal, you know, is like writing requires a huge amount of thinking, whether it's like in the back of your mind as you are riding on the train, you see a thing that reminds you of a thing and you're like, oh, I figured out this part of my book. Or if you're just sitting down and you're like, I don't know, but for me, whenever I write a book, I like to take time off afterwards to like refill the well. And for me, what that looks like is watching Netflix and like playing a game on my phone as my brain first is like a complete and total blank and I stare at the wall, but then like gradually as it starts to refill, there are like little words in the TV show that I'm watching and like a color on the game that I'm playing, and they create this thing in my brain that sparks and I'm like, this thing and this thing. And so like what you're giving away when you give away your time is not just ability to work on the current project, it's your ability to have future projects, like to write more things, to do more art, to be inspired, to refill your well, to have resources like extra so that you can do things for yourself. And it's really easy to not count any of that in the like, how long does it take me to draft a book or edit a book or promote a book? Because you can't calculate that. That's just like a thing that happens in the background when you have time. And I feel like that is the most important thing that people give away for free. And they give it away not even for exposure. They give it away to like run a chore, run an errand that isn't important or that like there's someone else could have done, but we give that shit away so easily. And it's whereas to me, I feel like that needs to be protected the most.
Good point.
Holy smokes. All that from a wedding dress. We can take a conversation anywhere.
Because it's about creatives, and I think creatives have that in common. And I think also, like, to Rowan's point, I think, at least for me, if I do something that I don't want to do in my creative arena, if I sing a song that I don't want to sing, which happened, it does something to me. Like if I have to do an appearance or do something or write something that is not something that I want to do, it does something to my energy, to my creativity for a while. And it takes a minute for me to go, okay, I did that thing that I didn't want to do. Okay, now let me get back to my happy place. You know what I mean? Like we can be temperamental that way, which is not a bad thing. It's just, whatever your creative spark is. But these two people, I hope that she finds, not two, because there's more. I hope this person finds new friends who won't take them for granted, because it sounds like this is a slippery slope that, that she's going to step on if she says yes to this, which I hope she doesn't or didn't. But on that point, getting to our chat topic, because I think we've exhausted this letter about toxic friends. So like, have you ever had to break up with a friend, or have you ever had to like get through the end of a friendship? And how did you handle that? And what advice would you give for someone going through that?
Oh, I totally have. Like like when you have a friend who is like slowly revealing themselves to be either non-trustworthy or like the kind of nightmare who will ask you to sew a wedding dress for free or like what, or like whatever. like sometimes it just has like, you've got to sort of phase it out, and they're really, I'm sure there's a graceful way to do it, but it seldom works out that way. Right. Like you can be like, yes, I'm just going to phase this out. If you have a difficult friend, it's not going to be phased out, and I think that you have to allow yourself to treat it like a breakup, honestly. Like when I look back at the, like romantic breakups versus like friendship breakups, like the friendship breakups are way like they stick. Like I have some that have stuck with me for like 20 years. Like I don't even remember who I was dating 20 years ago, you know. But
yeah.
And like I think that you've got to like I think that acknowledging that it's like a major life event is like important.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And I think that there's like scripts that we know how to follow to break up with a romantic partner, someone you're dating, or even like a spouse that we just don't have for friendships. And I'm not honestly sure why. I mean, I'm sure why culturally, because our culture doesn't value friendship as much as romantic partnership, but I'm not really sure why individually we don't have those things figured out yet. I've definitely had friend breakups. They have also mostly been inelegant. And usually,
I love how you phrase that. They've been inelegant.
Inelegant.
They've been inelegant. Mostly, well, and I mean, partly, I know for myself, I am someone who like, once someone has fundamentally disappointed or betrayed me, I want nothing to do with them. And I know for some people, like my sister and I talk about this a lot, because my sister is extremely extroverted, has a ton of friends, and is one of those sort of like social connector people who knows everyone. And like, you can say you met a random person at the co-op and she's like, oh my God, yes, they fixed so-and-so's bike 3 years ago, who I met because they were doing, it's just like one of these people. And I think one of the reasons that she's like that is that she doesn't really let go of people. So like, someone can betray her in a way, and what she wants is to sit down and have a conversation with them about how they can repair things. And I respect that so much. I admire it, because I think like in my heart, like restorative justice is where I think we should be going culturally, and yet I don't have the impulse in my individual friendships for it, because being friends with someone for me is like a huge act of trust and vulnerability, and I'm extremely bad at being vulnerable. And so if someone betrays that, in my head, I'm like, the door slams down, I'm not interested anymore. And if that person comes to me and is like, I really want to talk about how we can repair things, I know that hypothetically that's what I want. I do want to talk about things and I do want to repair things, but everything in my body is like, cool, I hope we can repair things with me being completely invulnerable and never letting you in again. And like, that doesn't work. So it's definitely a personal, I'm working on it. I
am living for this moment right now, because Rowan's answer to like everything is to sit down and talk it out and communicate and come together. It's just like, except for friend breakups. Fuck them. Fuck them hard. No. I love this. I love that we found your like, hell no, knife them in the back while they sleep and then make sure they're dead, salt the earth moment. I love this.
Okay.
No, I don't think
That's
it's that.
what I'm taking away from this. And if it's a lie, don't tell me.
It's a lie, and I'm telling you. No, that's not okay. I'm glad that you said that, because
it was bringing me joy though.
I know, I'm so sorry to have to tell you that you are incorrect about me in this way, but it does feel important to say. It's not, I think you're pointing out something that's actually really like deep for me, which is that I truly believe that talking about something is the way if you want to continue having a relationship with someone. And it's also true for me that when I don't want to continue having a relationship for someone, I will not spend that energy, because for me it takes a huge amount of energy to be vulnerable for someone, and I only am willing to do it if it's in pursuit of a relationship that I want to continue. And I thank you for pointing that out, because it really is a like, I recognize that does seem like a real tension.
We are alike in that entirely. I'm the exact same way. I don't know what it is, but like you probably understand what I'm saying, Ron, but like there's like a vault door, which, once you let somebody in the vault and they start raiding the vault and the vault closes behind them, the combination changes, everything is different. Like there's no way for them to get back into the vault. And maybe unlike Rowan, if it's someone that I was like a friend, I mean, I have very few close friends, but like if I was a friend with them and then there's a falling out or whatever, and then they come back and they're like, I'm really sorry, I was a different person, I've changed. they can get back into like the outermost circle. Like, you know, I mean, like as far as my arm will stretch, you stay over there, and that you're comfy there, I'm comfy with you there, and that's as close as they will get ever again. And I don't know how to change it. I don't know if I want to change that. That's like a self-defense mechanism that I'm comfortable living with that.
It's good to have people who are over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Place to be. There's nothing wrong with that, right?
There's nothing wrong with that, but they, especially the people who try to get back in, I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah,
you can stay over there.
Right. You know what I'm getting from this, and what I'm loving, although I'm sad because now Roan's not a salt the earth, you know, kill them till they're dead. I'm sad.
I am. It was something like hurt my sister, hurt the people I love, and I will salt the earth and burn you to death. Is that helpful?
I will not. You will avenge. You will avenge.
Yeah.
But I think it just kind of goes to show like the amount of emotional damage, borrow a phrase from TikTok, that happens with a friendship gone sour is just as significant, if not more so in some ways, than a romantic relationship. I think especially if you're looking at somebody who is, somebody who doesn't have a ton of close friends, that whatever happened there, right? Whatever happened to make that go south, whether it was just, this person became a different type of person than I'm used to, or, we grew apart, or they changed, or whatever it may be, or, they betrayed me, whatever, they slept with my husband, whatever happened there, that is just as devastating as a really strong romantic relationship breaking up can be, especially if it is such a limited person. I know people, I'm sure you guys too, and they are like friends with everybody, and it's not like acquaintance level, it literally is friends with everybody. I love those people. It sounds so fucking exhausting, but and I would be curious to know, because I think most of us, Cat, I'm not speaking for you, but us regulars here, we tend to have a lot of acquaintances, a lot of friends, people that we're really friendly with, and a smaller number of like friends, right? The people that you would actually be vulnerable with. And so I would be interested to see how this process works for somebody that is one of those folks that is like honest to God friends with everybody and their dog, so I find that interesting. But yeah, I think friendship breakups can be really, really rough. I love that you said you still remember your friend from 20 years ago that you guys had your friendship breakup. My best friend in high school, I still think about her because we went to college, we changed completely, all of this stuff. This is somebody who I called her parents mom and dad, like we were in pockets. And so, I mean, really that, the loss of that friendship, I still feel it. And so, I mean, that is one of those things that sticks with you. I think it's rough. I think it's really rough, but that also goes to show sort of the power of friendship though as well, and how much emotional support and how much personal growth and how very valuable friendships are, true friendships.
Yeah. I think I agree. I think Kat said like sometimes friendships don't get the same weight as a romantic relationship, and a lot of friendships, especially people who form friendships with like their high school friend or their college friend, they can outlast like numerous romantic relationships. So like, you can go through partners like candy, but still have that friend. And if that friend betrays you, that's worse than, you know what I mean? And I think that, I don't know why it's valued in like rom-coms. Why isn't it valued in real life? You know what I mean? Like in the rom-com, that best friend is like the best character, and, they're like right by their side. But in real life, it's like, your best friend, whatever, your BFF is like, it's like a joke, like a throwaway joke. And I think for me, I remember when I first started joining like fandoms and things like that, and people would meet online or in these fandoms, and they would immediately latch onto each other and call each other BFF and best friend and I love you and all sort of stuff. And I was always like, how do you do that so easily? Like, how are you throwing that term around, those terms around so easily? Like, that made me so uncomfortable, and it still makes me uncomfortable to this day, especially being like in the publishing world where you meet hundreds, if not thousands of authors, and everyone is everyone's best friend. And it's like, I get like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, it's really cool, but like, oh my gosh, like it just makes, it gives me like the willies sometimes when I see how it can be. Maybe it's just a flaw in me that I can't have that same sort of like connection to people, but like, yeah, those terms get thrown around a lot for me.
These young whippersnappers.
I feel like I actually never meet anyone, and no one ever says those things to me, but they would think
Someone be Rowan's friend.
Oh, wow. Yeah, someone please be my friend.
I volunteer as tribute.
Yeah,
I think a friend, the word friend, the word is like as important as the word boyfriend or girlfriend or partner. Like, calling somebody a friend, that should have some weight to it.
I totally agree. And I find myself often like editing as I'm saying something, because it'll be like someone who I have only ever communicated with on Twitter. And it's a casual, we clearly agree about this one aesthetic of this one television show. And sometimes I'll want to like shorthand it, and I'll be like, I was talking to a friend the other day who said, and then I can't let it stand. I have to be like, okay, sorry, it wasn't actually a friend. It's someone I just admire on Twitter. And every time I do it, I feel so pathetic.
We need a word for that. Okay, listeners, please come up with a word for that.
A word.
Somebody that the parasocial relationship is so like not good. So like that, but good. Yeah. So like your Twitter fandom friends, all of those things. We need a word for that.
I call people mutuals like in real life. Okay. Like,
okay.
Like,
I think that's good.
Like, I was talking to a mutual or whatever, and like, I'm not sure I like that, but it gets the job done. Like, it's someone who you talk to and you're not talking at them because they're talking with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
I like the utilitarianness of that.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Also, can we shorten it to mutt?
No. The answer to that is no.
Sorry, that's
and I didn't even have to think about it.
No, you're right.
Yeah. No.
Well, no segue here.
No segue.
This, I think we may have said this last episode too, but this month of February is actually our 1-year anniversary. Speaking of people I've forced to be my friends, we've been doing this podcast together for a year, and it's really fun. And so we are actually going to do a little giveaway. I think it's our first giveaway. I like that we this podcast as it'll be fun because it's not writing related. And so we were like, well, in writing we have to do giveaways and promote things, and our podcast don't.
Yeah. And what did we spend 4 years talking about today? Writing process. So
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Here's what's happening. We are doing a giveaway, Dear Romance Writer, and it's gonna be Dear Romance Writer merch, our first ever merch that we've created, which is amazing, and also signed books from me and Zio and Avery, like signed paperbacks. So here's what you have to do to enter. Are you ready? Send us a letter to advice@dearromancewriter.com. advice@dearromancewriter.com, and let us know some of the best advice you've ever gotten. That can be advice about anything, as long or as short as you want. We just want some good goddamn advice. It's open in the US because of the shipping costs, etc. So only in the US, and you have to be 18 or older, because probably we're liable for something if you're not. It is void where prohibited, which sorry, I'm reading. We have like a little blurb for our giveaway that I'm reading, and I don't know why a giveaway would be prohibited anywhere, but I guess
they're weird. State rules are weird in some places.
State rules are weird.
Okay, cool. Well, if you live in a state where they don't like you to get presents, you can't. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway, open everywhere. So we're going to pick a winner at random. So this is going to go to the end of the month. The month of February has 28 days. And you can remember that not at all if you're me and your birthday is on March 1st and your entire life, you thought that you had 2 weeks before your birthday or a week before your birthday, and then it's actually 2 days. So February 28th, last day to send us the best advice you've ever gotten, and we will pick a winner at random, and also probably share whatever the awesome advice is.
Yeah, we'd have to.
But you still own your IP.
Yes, yes.
$10,000.
We'll give you full credit.
Yes. We are not stealing your ideas or asking you to do work in kind.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. So
That's funny.
do it. Enter. We want to know what the best advice you ever received is, and if it's like really good, we'll probably implement it in our own lives, benefiting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Help us. We need your help.
Yeah, we need more questionable advice or less questionable advice than what we give.
Yes. Oh, well, thank you so much, Kat, for being here with us. We loved having you. It was a great, lots of discussions that went 20 million different directions. So yay. We loved having you so much, Cat Sebastian. So tell us where our folks can find you, and tell us again the latest book.
Sure. My website is catsebastian.com, and I'm at Cat S Writes on both Twitter and Instagram. My most recent book is The Missing Page, and it has been out for a couple weeks, so it should be available pretty much everywhere. And it is a romance set in a murder village in 1947-ish England.
And when will the Gay Murder Village merch come out? Because I'm kind of interested in that.
Yeah, I want that t-shirt.
I use a lot of coffee mugs, so I'm thinking that would be great. Gay Murder Village. Yes, I like it.
I just keep
thank you
thinking
again
of,
for
I don't think
having
I've ever
us.
seen The Only Gay in the Village. What is that from? What was that? There was a like a, not sitcom, what do they call them? Sketch comedy show in the UK where this guy would say, "I'm the only gay in the village." And every time you say Gay Murder Village, that's the voice that comes into my head. Anyway, Google it. It's funny.
Google it. Let us know. Well, thank you everyone for spending an hour and change with us today. We really appreciate it. We love having you. Send us in your letters, please. You can send them in anonymously through a form on our website, which is dearromancewriter.com. You can also, we've now given out our email address. You can send a letter, just straight email to us at advice@dearromancewriter.com. You can slide into our DMs on social media. We are there. We would love to hear from you. And don't forget to send us in to enter the contest by sending us your best advice you've ever gotten at advice@dearromancewriter.com. We cannot wait to, take credit for all your ideas. No, I'm kidding. We really will not do that. But we will see you guys next week. Who is our guest next week? I'm blanking
Jennifer
out.
Probst.
That's right. So next week we will have the fabulous Jennifer Probst, and I am very jealous of her hair every time I see her. So I'm super looking forward to that. It's all about me. It's all about me, folks. But thank you guys so much. We will see you next time on Dear Romance Writer.
Bye. See you guys.
Thank you so much for subscribing to Dear Romance Writer. Remember to keep sending in those letters at dearromancewriter.com. We can't wait to tell you what to do. Dear Romance Writer is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. Find more podcasts you'll love, frolic.media/podcasts.